The phone call that would lead to the most dramatic wedding disaster of my life came on a Tuesday evening in March. I was grading papers in my Portland apartment when my brother Tyler called, his voice strained with stress. "Hey, Em, I need to talk to you about something important, about the wedding." Tyler's wedding to Madison was 4 months away, scheduled for July at some venue in the Columbia River Gorge. I'd had reservations about Madison since their engagement, but I loved my brother and wanted to support his happiness. "What about the wedding? Is everything okay? We're in a financial bind, and I was hoping you might help us out." My stomach tightened. What kind of help? The venue, Cascade Falls Lodge. It's this incredible place Madison dreamed of, but it's more expensive than we budgeted. The total cost is $15,000 for venue rental, catering, and decorations. We can cover $8,000 between savings and what mom and dad are contributing, but we're short $7,000. $7,000. As a freelance marketing consultant with irregular income, I'd carefully built my emergency fund over years. The thought of depleting it for a wedding venue made me deeply uncomfortable. "Tyler, that's a lot of money. Have you looked at other options?" Madison has her heart set on Cascade Falls. She says it's the only place that feels right. "This is her dream wedding, Em." I heard Madison's voice in the background, insistent and demanding. "I know it's a big ask, but you're the only family member who can help. You've got your consulting business doing well, no kids, no mortgage. We're really desperate here." The implication stung. Yes, I was financially stable, but that stability came through years of careful planning and often saying no to things I wanted. The suggestion that my money was more available because of my life choices felt unfair. "Tyler, I need to think about this. We really need to know soon. The venue is pressuring us for final payment." Over the next few days, the pressure intensified. Madison started texting me directly, sending venue photos with captions like, "Isn't it perfect? I can't imagine getting married anywhere else." And this place is where Tyler and I fell in love with the idea of forever. Tyler called again Friday, Madison clearly coaching him. "We'd pay you back, of course. We're asking for money instead of gifts at the wedding, and with our tax refund next year, we should repay you within 12 months. The plan sounded optimistic at best. Wedding gift money was unpredictable, and asking guests for cash often resulted in smaller amounts than expected. "Tyler, what if the gift money doesn't cover it? What if you can't pay me back? Then we'll figure out a payment plan. Em, your family. We wouldn't leave you hanging." Madison's texts became more frequent and manipulative. "I'm starting to panic about the venue. I can't sleep thinking about losing our deposit. Please help us make our dreams come true." Monday evening, Tyler called with desperation in his voice. "Emma, we need an answer. The venue is threatening to give our date to another couple if we don't pay by Wednesday. Madison has been crying for days." I took a deep breath, knowing my next words would change everything. "Tyler, I've thought about this carefully, and I can't loan you the money. $7,000 is too much for me to risk without a clear repayment plan. I'm sorry, but I have to say no." Silence stretched endlessly. "Emma, I can't believe you're doing this to us. To me. I'm your brother. Tyler, I love you. But this isn't about our relationship. This is about financial responsibility. If you can't afford this venue, maybe you should consider alternatives." "There are no alternatives." Tyler's voice rose, Madison crying audibly in the background. "This is our wedding, Emma. Our one chance to have the perfect day. How can you be so selfish?" "I'm not being selfish. I'm being practical. I worked hard to save this money, and I can't risk my financial security for a party." "A party? This is our wedding, the most important day of our lives." "Then maybe you should have planned a wedding you could actually afford." Tyler hung up on me. Over the following weeks, I learned through our parents that Madison's parents had provided the money. I was relieved their wedding could proceed, hoping Tyler would eventually understand my decision. I was wrong. Tyler seemed more resentful that they'd had to ask Madison's family after I refused. Our relationship grew strained, and Madison became openly hostile. But nothing could have prepared me for what would happen on their wedding day, when my decision to protect my financial boundaries would lead to the most shocking public confrontation of my life. The morning of Tyler's wedding dawned overcast and humid, with threatening clouds gathering over the Columbia River Gorge. I debated whether to attend at all, given the strain in our relationship, but ultimately decided that missing my brother's wedding would damage our family irreparably. I drove to Cascade Falls Lodge with a knot in my stomach, rehearsing neutral conversations in my head. The venue was undeniably beautiful, a rustic stone building perched on a cliff overlooking the river, surrounded by towering evergreens and cascading waterfalls. I could see why Madison had fallen in love with it, even if I couldn't understand spending $15,000 they didn't have. The parking lot was already filling with guests when I arrived. I recognized several family friends and distant relatives, all dressed in their wedding finest despite the threatening weather. As I walked toward the entrance, I spotted Madison's parents near the reception tent, looking pleased and important as they directed vendors and photographers. "Emma!" My mom appeared at my elbow, looking relieved to see me. "I wasn't sure you'd come." "Of course I came, Mom. Tyler's my brother. I know things have been difficult between you two lately. Maybe today you can work things out." Before I could respond, Madison's maid of honor, her sister Brittany, approached us with a tight smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Emma, so nice you could make it," Brittany said with obvious insincerity. "Madison wasn't sure you'd show up, given everything that happened." The comment was clearly meant to make me feel unwelcome, but I forced a polite smile. "I wouldn't miss Tyler's wedding." "Of course." "Well, Madison's getting ready in the bridal suite if you want to say hello. I'm sure she'd love to see you." The invitation felt like a trap, but refusing would have created more drama. I followed Brittany up the stone steps to the lodge's second floor, where the bridal suite overlooked the river through floor-to-ceiling windows. Madison sat in front of a Hollywood-style makeup mirror, surrounded by her bridesmaids and looking absolutely stunning in a flowing white dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Her dark hair was swept into an elegant updo adorned with tiny white flowers, and her makeup was flawless. "Emma!" Madison's voice was saccharine sweet, but her eyes remained cold. "You actually came! I wasn't sure you'd want to celebrate our special day, considering—" The room fell silent. Madison's bridesmaids exchanged glances, clearly aware of our conflict. I felt like I'd walked into an ambush. "Madison, you look beautiful. Congratulations." "Thank you. It really is perfect, isn't it? The venue, the flowers, everything exactly as I dreamed. Of course, we almost couldn't have any of this, but thankfully my parents stepped in when family—" She let the sentence hang meaningfully. I felt heat rising in my cheeks but kept my voice steady. "I'm glad everything worked out." "Yes, well, some people understand what family means." Madison turned back to her mirror, dismissing me. "Blood relatives who actually support each other instead of abandoning them when they need help most." The bridesmaids giggled uncomfortably. I realized this public humiliation was intentional. Madison wanted witnesses to see her putting me in my place. "I should let you finish getting ready," I said, backing toward the door. "Emma," Madison called sweetly, "make sure you enjoy the reception. After all, my parents paid for everything, so you can eat and drink guilt-free." I escaped to the bathroom and splashed cold water on my face, trying to calm down. This was going to be a long day. The ceremony itself was beautiful, despite the tension. Tyler looked handsome in his navy suit, and his face lit up when Madison walked down the aisle. For a moment, watching my brother's joy, I almost forgot about our conflict. This was what mattered, two people promising to love each other forever. But during the receiving line, the hostility resumed. Madison hugged me with theatrical enthusiasm while whispering, "Thank you so much for coming, even though you clearly didn't want to be here." Tyler's hug was stiff and brief. "Thanks for making the effort," he said coolly. The cocktail hour was torture. Everywhere I went, I felt like people were whispering about me. Madison's family seemed to know about our conflict, and they made sure I felt unwelcome with pointed comments about family loyalty and supporting the people you love. During dinner, I found myself seated at a table with distant cousins and family friends rather than at the family table where I belonged. The message was clear. I was no longer considered close family. Madison's father gave a speech about how proud he was to welcome Tyler into their family, and how grateful they were to be able to give their daughter the wedding of her dreams. The emphasis on able to give felt like another jab at my refusal to help. When Tyler stood to give his speech, he thanked Madison's parents specifically for making this magical day possible when others couldn't or wouldn't help. The words hung in the air like an accusation, and I felt dozens of eyes turn toward me. I excused myself to the restroom, needing a moment to collect myself. But as I walked back toward the reception, I nearly collided with Madison near the bar. She'd clearly been drinking. Her cheeks were flushed, and her eyes had a glassy quality. "Well, well," she said loudly enough for nearby guests to hear. "If it isn't the sister who cares more about money than family. Madison, please, this is your wedding day. Let's not do this here." "Oh, now you want to avoid confrontation? Where was that consideration when my parents had to take out a loan because you were too selfish to help your own brother? Madison, you're drunk. Maybe you should—" "Don't you dare tell me what to do." Her voice rose sharply, causing several guests to turn and stare. "You have no right to give anyone advice about anything. You proved exactly what kind of person you are when you abandoned us." I could see Tyler approaching from across the dance floor, his expression alarmed. Other family members were starting to gather, sensing drama. "I didn't abandon anyone," I said quietly, hoping to de-escalate. "I made a financial decision that was right for me." "Right for you?" Madison's laugh was bitter and loud. "Right for you was watching your brother's dreams get crushed? Right for you was forcing us to beg my parents for money? What kind of sister does that? Madison, stop, Tyler said, reaching us and placing a hand on her arm. Not here, not today. But Madison was beyond reasoning. The alcohol, the stress, and months of resentment had created a perfect storm. No, Tyler, she needs to hear this. She needs to know what she did to us, how she almost ruined our wedding because she's too selfish and greedy to help family when they need it most. The entire reception had gone quiet now. Everyone was watching our confrontation unfold in the most public way possible. Madison, please, I started. That's when it happened. Without warning, Madison's hand flew across my face in a sharp, stinging slap that echoed through the suddenly silent reception tent. That's for almost ruining the most important day of my life, she hissed. The aftermath was immediate and devastating. Gasps rose from the crowd. Tyler grabbed Madison's arm. My cheek burned with pain and humiliation, and I realized that sometimes standing up for yourself comes with consequences you never saw coming. The silence that followed Madison's slap was deafening. 200 wedding guests stood frozen, champagne glasses halfway to their lips, conversations cut off mid-sentence. The only sound was the distant crash of waterfalls and my own heartbeat thundering in my ears. My cheek burned with pain and humiliation. I could feel every eye in the reception tent focused on me, waiting to see how I would respond to being publicly assaulted by my brother's bride. Madison! Tyler's voice cracked with shock and horror. What the hell did you just do? Madison swayed slightly, her wedding dress swishing around her feet, her face flushed with alcohol and rage. I did what someone should have done months ago. I told her exactly what I think of her selfishness. You just slapped my sister at our wedding. Tyler grabbed both of Madison's arms, his voice rising to match hers. In front of everyone. Have you lost your mind? The crowd began to murmur, phones discreetly emerging as guests realized they were witnessing the kind of wedding disaster that would be talked about for years. I could see Madison's parents pushing through the crowd, their faces pale with mortification. My own parents reached me first. Mom's face was white with shock, and Dad looked like he wanted to physically intervene, but wasn't sure how to handle a situation involving his new daughter-in-law. Emma, honey, are you okay? Mom touched my arm gently, her eyes filled with concern and embarrassment. I nodded, not trusting my voice yet. The stinging in my cheek was nothing compared to the humiliation of being assaulted in front of my entire extended family and all of Tyler's friends. Madison's father, red-faced and clearly mortified, reached his daughter just as she was gearing up for another verbal assault. Madison Elizabeth, what is wrong with you? He hissed, grabbing her other arm. This is your wedding reception, not a barroom brawl. She almost ruined our wedding, Daddy. Madison's voice was getting higher and more hysterical. She wouldn't help us when we needed her most. She forced you and Mom to take out a loan because she's too greedy and selfish to help family. That doesn't give you the right to assault anyone. Madison's mother had arrived, her face a mask of horror and social embarrassment. You just attacked someone at your own wedding reception. I finally found my voice, though it came out steadier than I felt. I think I should leave. Emma, no, Tyler said, releasing Madison to reach for me. Please don't go. He looked back at his bride, who was now crying angry tears and being restrained by both her parents. This is not how this was supposed to go. Tyler, your wife just slapped me in front of 200 people because I wouldn't give you $7,000. I think it's pretty clear how welcome I am here. The crowd was openly staring now, some guests holding up phones to record the drama. I could already imagine the social media posts and family gossip that would follow this spectacle for years to come. Emma, please! Tyler's voice was desperate. Madison's been drinking. She's stressed about the wedding. She didn't mean to slap me? I touched my still stinging cheek. Tyler, she meant every word she said and every action she took. This is what she really thinks of me. Madison's parents were now attempting to escort her away from the crowd, but she was having none of it. Don't you dare make me the villain here, she shouted over her shoulder at me. You're the one who chose money over family. You're the one who almost ruined our perfect day. Madison, stop talking, her mother hissed. You're making this worse. But Madison was beyond reason. No, everyone should know what kind of person she really is. What kind of sister abandons her brother when he needs help most? That's when something inside me snapped. I'd spent months feeling guilty about my decision, wondering if I'd been too harsh, questioning whether I should have found a way to help them. But standing there with my cheek on fire and my dignity in tatters, I realized I'd done nothing wrong. You want everyone to know what kind of person I am? I said, my voice carrying clearly across the now silent reception. Fine, let me tell them. I turned to address the crowd of guests, who were watching this family drama unfold like spectators at a particularly dramatic theater performance. I'm the kind of person who works hard for my money and doesn't feel obligated to bankrupt myself for other people's wedding fantasies. I'm the kind of person who says no when someone asks me to risk my financial security for a party. And apparently, I'm the kind of person who gets physically assaulted for setting reasonable boundaries. The murmur that rippled through the crowd was different now, more sympathetic, more understanding. Several guests nodded in agreement, and I could see the tide of opinion shifting. "Emma, please," Tyler tried again, but I held up my hand to stop him. "Tyler, I love you. I always will, but I won't be guilted or shamed or assaulted for making responsible financial decisions. Madison's parents paid for this wedding because they chose to, not because they had to. I chose not to, and that was my right." Madison's father had finally managed to get her seated at a nearby table, where she continued to glare at me with undisguised hatred. Her mother was fanning her with a napkin and looking like she wanted to disappear entirely. "I came here today to celebrate your marriage, despite months of hostility and manipulation. I came because you're my brother, and I wanted to support your happiness. But I won't stay somewhere I'm not wanted, and I certainly won't stay somewhere I'm physically attacked for standing up for myself." I looked around at the faces in the crowd, some shocked, some sympathetic, some clearly entertained by the drama. "I hope you all enjoy the rest of the reception. The venue really is beautiful. It should be for $15,000. With that, I gathered what remained of my dignity and walked steadily toward the exit. Behind me, I could hear Tyler calling my name and the buzz of excited conversation as 200 people processed what they'd just witnessed. As I reached my car, I realized something surprising. Despite the humiliation, despite the family conflict that would probably never fully heal, I felt oddly liberated. For the first time in months, I was completely certain I'd made the right choice. Some prices are just too high to pay, even for family. And sometimes, the people who claim to love you most are the ones who respect your boundaries least. The wedding video went viral within hours. Someone had captured Madison's slap and my response, turning our family drama into internet entertainment. But surprisingly, most comments supported me. Tyler called the next day, his voice heavy with regret. "Emma, I'm so sorry. Madison was drunk, stressed. But that's no excuse. She was completely out of line. Tyler, she said what she really thinks of me. The alcohol just gave her permission to say it publicly. She feels terrible about it now. We both do. But I'd found clarity in that humiliating moment. Tyler, I love you, but I can't have a relationship with someone who thinks it's acceptable to assault me over money." 6 months later, Madison's parents were still paying off the wedding loan while Tyler worked 2 jobs to help. Their marriage was strained by financial pressure. Exactly what I'd feared would happen if I'd enabled their overspending. My parents eventually understood my position, especially after witnessing Madison's behavior. "You were right to protect yourself," Mom said. "We're proud of you for standing up for what you believed in." The slap that was meant to punish me for setting boundaries actually liberated me. I learned that family love shouldn't come with a price tag, and that protecting your financial security isn't selfish. It's essential. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to enable someone's poor decisions, even when they make you the villain for it.